Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Everybody Has a Love Story. And today we are going to be meeting with Patricia from Nashima Journey. She's joining us now. I'm so excited to talk to Patricia. So we're going to wait just a moment while she logs in. Here we go. And we should be going live any moment.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm so happy to see your face.
Thank you. I'm not used to be like on
Right.
that side of the camera. I'm usually on the upper side because I'm the one interviewing others, so it's funny.
Exactly. And first of all, you were the first person that I went live with.
Yes, I remember.
And you were we have Grief and Grits are here. We have so many friends who are coming in today. So I want to
Yeah.
say hello. And you were so like loving and gentle and patient. And while I was starting on my journey here.
Thank you.
So,
It's funny because so many people had like their first time, like they lost their life virginity with me. So
oh
I
my
think it's
gosh.
funny because I don't know. Maybe I make people feel comfortable, but they're like, okay, I'll come live with you for the first time. So
Yes, Patricia is lovely to talk to.
thank you.
You know what? You have such an openness to you and such a joy
Thank
that
you.
you make it very easy. And it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. So before we go into your story, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to go into a little bit. Oh, Grief and Grit said agree.
Thank you, Randy.
Oh.
Laura.
So a little bit about your background, because we're going to touch on this a little bit, because I've been thinking a lot about this since we last talked. Yes. Okay. We're hearing, yes, she has great energy.
Thank you.
I can't wait for us all to be able to meet in person.
I know.
Oh my gosh, that's going to
It'll
be
be
amazing.
amazing.
Okay, so you were born in Hong Kong to
Mm-hmm.
Lebanese parents,
Yeah,
raised in Switzerland,
exactly.
then went to university in London,
Yes.
then you moved to Brazil.
Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm cheating. I've got cheat notes here. Um, and then
It's
you were
hard to
in
keep.
Brazil for 10 years, met your husband, had 3 babies, and 6 years ago, you moved to New York City.
Yes.
So you are an international gal for sure. Amazing.
I think it's in the blood. I think there's something about, coming from Jewish ancestors. I feel like they had to move all the time, and somehow it just stayed with me, and we keep on moving. And it's true, my grandparents had to move from ancestors, right? They had
Yeah.
to move from Spain to Turkey to Iran to Iraq to Turkey again, Syria, Lebanon. It's like
Beautiful.
a big mix.
Hmm.
And even my parents, my two sisters, one of my sisters just joined. She was
Hi.
born in Beirut, and they also had to leave Lebanon, and they went from one city to the other. And I think it's just in our bloodstream to be able to move and and adapt to new environments.
It transforms you. Maybe it is in the Jewish blood. I mean, I've lived all over and found it very easy to move
Mhm.
and exciting, and I liked the change. But okay, so we're going to step back for just a moment because you are you're a mom, you're a
Of three.
wife, you are the founder of Neshama Journey here on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and you're Shelly's daughter.
Yes.
And that's what we want to talk about is you being Shelly's daughter and your
Mm-hmm.
mom. And I've thought so much about you this week
Thank you.
because you had this just blessed time with your mom. And in a way, it's a double-edged sword because
Mm-hmm.
once she's gone, you really have that sense of what you're missing.
Yeah.
And she's so rooted in who you are. And
Mhm.
looking through your pictures, it shows
It does.
that connection. So tell me about your mom.
Yeah. No, just looking back to the pictures when I when I go through those phases where I think about everything she'll be missing, I really try to do a mindful effort to think about all the moments we had. And it's not an easy exercise because it doesn't come automatically. You really have to work on that sense of gratitude because it's, I feel like I'm still young. I know I had my mom for 38 years, but I feel I could have had her for like another 20 or 30 years. And when I go through those phases where I think about everything she's going to miss out and, all the big milestones in my life, in my kids' life, in my life, I really need to do the conscious effort of going back to those pictures, going back to those moments where she was able to be there. But it's not easy. It's still not easy to accept the fact. I think there's a big difference between accepting that she died. Yes, I'm not in denial. I don't think I've been in denial because my mom was sick for a long time. But to accept that this is going to be permanent and forever, and that she, yes, was present for a lot of those, big moments, but she's not going to be here for the rest, it's still very hard.
Okay, so my mom has now been gone for over 40 years. And I still have those moments where I have to remember, oh my gosh, she's still gone.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really real moments. And actually, this week is a milestone in our family because my son will be 15 this week. And I was 15 when she died.
Oh, wow.
So it's that carrying that through. I know there's going to be a part of me when he turns 16 when I'll feel a sense of relief. Although I'm not sick, I'm perfectly healthy, everything's fine. But there's still that moment in my mind where I think, I want to be here longer.
Yeah.
For him. But it really shows how much you were mothered by the way you self-parented yourself after she died by starting this incredible platform. You knew you needed more, that you needed to be in touch with your grief. And that says a lot about how beautifully she parented you, because does that make sense?
No, totally. And it's crazy because the other day when you told me this, like how I mothered myself, it really made me think because I think I replied to you, right? I think we were exchanging messages and I'm like, maybe she is still mothering me through me. Because, they say that you never know how you're going to react to the loss until, the person's gone. And there's all this thing about anticipatory grief. And although the person's sick and it's going to happen, like nothing prepares you. I tried, before she passed to like order like book online and Google article about, living after loss and how do you do with grief and how is life after you lose a mother. But nothing really prepares you. And the other day when you use that word of like self-mothering, I'm like, maybe I'm not self-mothering. Maybe my mother is still mothering me. Like someone is guiding me because I have to say that I don't even know how all of this started, like my platform. All I knew was that it was the middle of the pandemic. I was long forgotten by people around me, not in a negative way. We were in the middle of the virus, right? And in the middle of the first lockdown. People had so many, anxieties and issues and things at work going on and at home and the homeschooling. So forgotten is not harsh. It's just that people had other things on their mind. So my grief was forgotten. And I needed to talk. Like I needed to express myself. I wanted to post picture about my mom. I wanted to talk about her. I wanted to connect with other, motherless daughters and other people that had gone through loss. And it started, but I think it just happened very naturally. I didn't have a plan. That's what I'm saying. I didn't have a plan about, I'm creating a Shamat journey. I'm going to start the live. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to do this and that. It just came from a need, a void, actually. I think that void that my mom left, because we used to talk all the time. We used to, chat all day long, send each other messages, FaceTime, WhatsApp, talk about the kids and all of a sudden, like all of this stopped. I still do have a chat with my sisters and my dad.
Sure.
No one is as responsive as my mom. Like I can still share things about my life, but no one will reply back the way my mom used to. And I had to fill this void somehow and talk about her.
It's so, you
Yeah.
followed your instincts. I loved what you said, that it came organically.
Yeah.
And that it came from mindfulness, from meditation, from your gratitude practices,
Mm-hmm.
all things that we've talked about before. They're so much a part of, it's been a part of my growth over the last, I can't believe it's 40 years. I mean, that's crazy. But the fact that it came organically, and that you had, well, social media is a miracle in this way, and that you found some things that didn't exactly work. So
Mm-hmm.
you created something of your own. And we've got Luna Pursuit 430 saying, so thankful for your platform. It helps me so much.
Thank you. But actually, I think this is what kept me going. It's just people's feedback. You see that it's been helping so many people. After every live, I do get, DM on my stories or comments on my post. And I don't know, it just kept me going. And it came from a need. It didn't come from a plan. I didn't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't planning on creating a platform. I needed to fill a void. I needed to talk about my mom. I still need to talk about my mom. I don't know. I'm just a talker. That's who I am. And I need to put this out. I cannot keep it in me.
And you shouldn't, and you don't need to. And that's really why we decided to switch things around and talk about Everyone Has a Love Story, because it's important to hear your Shelley's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of places to say, she'll always be my mom.
Yeah.
But once somebody goes, and you want to still have that feeling of being the daughter, or, the wife,
Yeah.
whatever your loss is. So let's talk about your childhood growing up with your mom, and what that was like with your, three sisters, but they were old. Oh, you're the third.
So I'm the third.
Okay.
I'm really the baby. It puts me in a position in my family that I was almost like a only child. My sisters were much older than me, 10 years older than me. So I was really my mother's baby for a very long time. And up until the very last night where she was conscious, I remember I was sleeping with her at the hospital, and one of the nurse came in, and I was just going to leave the room. So I tell the nurse, I'm just going to step out. I'm going to buy something to drink. I'll come back. And my mother told her in Portuguese, she's like, she's my little one. She's my baby. And so until the very last day, and then the next morning, she woke up. She was sedated with morphine. So she really fell into unconsciousness. But until the very last day, I think I was the baby. I just very much liked the fact that I was a third child. I didn't grow up close to my siblings up until I was in my teenage years, let's say. Now we're much closer than when I was 3 or 4, because they were teenagers when I was a toddler. But I had the privilege of being with my mom all the time. And then they moved out of the house. I stayed with my mom. Then my parents got a divorce. I stayed with my mom. Yeah. So for 2 decades, it was me and her all the time. And that says a lot about our relationship. And I was talking about this the other day because I posted something about Valentine's Day. That, of course, if you lost a spouse, Valentine's Day must be a horrible pain. But sometimes it's not your spouse who's your Valentine's. It can be your mom, it can be your friend. Right. And my mom was my Valentine's for so many years. All those years where, I didn't have a boyfriend, or all those years where my father wasn't home anymore and my mom was there, and she would give me presents. I would buy roses, like red roses for her. So there was a very, very special connection. And on top of those 2 decades, just me and her, not just me and her, but me being the baby and being at home with her, I had another decade in Brazil where I moved to Brazil where she was living. And it was me and her again for 10 years. So that was really a huge privilege to be able to have those years. Because when I got married, she was there. When I got engaged, when I had my babies, when the kids were sick, when they had their first day of school, like she was there every step of the way. So this is where, I try, when I have those moments, when I think about every moment that she will miss out, I try to remember all the moments we got. But, it's still a work in progress, obviously.
Well, of course. And
Hmm.
that's the way I think it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
These great loves, they don't go away. They're not supposed to.
Hmm.
And it's really beautiful that you have all these memories to share with your kids. Now, do you parent in a similar way that your
No,
mom parented you?
no.
No.
It's funny. I had this conversation last night. I think my mom was very permissive. She was very, TV was okay, snack was, everything was like fine. Um, she was more strict maybe when I was a teenager about like going out, certain time to go back home. But no, I think first of all, I have three boys. I had three boys in 4 years. So it's a
Totally
whole
different.
different story. I mean, I feel like if I don't have rules in this house, they're gonna eat me alive.
Right.
So I'm much, 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 much more stricter than my mom used to be with us. But also, my mom had two daughters, and then 10 years later, she had me. And I
Right.
was the only, little kid in the house. So my education was really different than the way I'm raising those three boys, because I had three boys in 4 years. So
Wow.
that's a lot of babies
Well, and it's a
at
lot of
once.
testosterone. So we have all boys in this house as well. And
Okay.
I mean, I can't remember. I read, I mean, years and years ago in college that how we tend to parent in the opposite
Okay.
of because my parents were complete hippies. They were so relaxed about everything,
Hmm.
and I'm very strict. My poor kid.
Yeah, I'm very strict too. I am. I have to say, but I need those rules at home because I really feel like, first of all, they would outnumbered us because they're and they're boys,
Hmm.
and I need to have some structure at home. Otherwise, I don't know how I would be able to do it.
Right. Oh my gosh. And did she? How is she with your children?
She was so present.
Mm.
That's why I have to say that those 10 years in Brazil made a huge impact on them because since my first pregnancy, I think she came with me to every doctor's appointment. She was with me when I gave birth, and every single doctor appointment of my kids, she would come with us, like for every show. Like even when she passed, the pediatrician of my kids, sent me a message because he was like, remember your mom, she used to
Oh,
do every every shot, every newborn visits, and she was always there. And then no, I think she was there every single day. She would see them every day. She was very, very present. My other nieces and nephew, I have a 20 years almost gap between my nieces
mm.
and nephew and my kids. So, for her, it was like being a grandmother all over again. And,
Oh, sure. She loved it.
she
Oh,
loved
I'm sure.
she loved it, and she had time at that moment. She had time when she had her first grandkids. She was younger, she had me at home, she was working. All of a sudden she had all this time to focus on them, and she
Right.
would pick them up from school, she would take them to birthday parties. She was very, very present, and I'm so happy now because I have all those pictures, right?
Mm.
I don't know. I lost my grandmother when I was 12, my mother's mother, and they were very close, and I was very close to my grandmother. But sometimes I tend to forget. I don't have all those pictures. I don't have all those memories.
Right.
So I really hope that these years that they had with my mom before we moved to New York made a big impact on them. And so far, I mean, it's been 15 months. They still talk about her all the time.
Mm.
We pray every night. So before we go to bed, they do say a prayer for her soul to elevate. So she's part of our daily life. And, I have a picture of her on my night table near my bed. I have her drawings everywhere in
Oh
my
my gosh.
playroom, the geishas. So
They are
I
beautiful.
really hope that even though they were young, they were 10, 8, and 6
Mm.
at the time she passed. I hope they will still have those memories. And I will keep her alive, but I hope that from themselves, they will be able to remember.
Well, I think we don't know what people hold with them in the memories, but I think on a cellular level,
Hmm.
there's an imprinting.
Yeah, for sure.
And she made an impact, of course. Now, do you see yourself or do you see your mother in yourself? Do you have moments where you think, oh, mom would have worn that? Or Marla, our friend
Yeah,
Marla says they will.
I'm sure they will because she's very present, and this is something that I didn't have with my mom. She didn't talk a lot about her mom. We
Oh,
grieved very differently. So this is also something I think culturally there was something about grief that you were not supposed to talk about it. Like once the person was gone, the person was
right.
gone. Like that's it. We're not gonna wake up the dead, you know, we're not gonna talk about them. And I know how painful it was for my mom to lose her mom, also from cancer, also from years of, you know, battling a disease. And definitely she must have cried, you know, between, you know, four walls in her bathroom. And until the last day, like until she passed, she was still talking about her mom, but it wasn't something that was remembered all the time.
Right.
We didn't really celebrate the death anniversary. We remember when it was her birthday, but she would go by herself. Like she would go by herself to the synagogue and light a candle. I was never part of it, and I want my kids to be part of it.
Right.
Really, like.
And we're all
I
changing this. We're changing it.
We're changing it now, and I need that presence. I feel like I need that presence. That's why I'm talking about her every day. It makes her, it makes her very present in my life still, you know. Even when like I have this conversation with you or with any other people in the life, like just the fact that I'm talking about her and I'm remembering her, I'm just really keeping the memory alive, and I need this for myself as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it lets us get to know you because she is
Yeah,
such a part of you.
she is. And
And
to answer your question about if I see my mom in myself, not really, but sometimes, you know, I try and I think about my mom. Like she would have appreciated that I got my nails done, that I got my hair done, that
right.
you know, I put a nice table for dinner. Like usually for the Jewish holidays, I try. I don't cook, but I try to put together a dinner that would look like my mom's, you know, dinner party. And I don't know,
Oh, I love
we're
that.
very different, but somehow I still try to do something that I could, you know, snap a picture, send it to her, and she would love it. So even though I cannot snap a picture, I'm sure she's seeing it and she'll be happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She would be, I mean, just amazed at what you've created.
Yeah,
Really.
I hope so.
I mean, just as a mom, because I get very maternal for some reason
Hmm.
whenever I talk to you, because it's just this joy about who you are
Hmm.
and the woman that you are showing the world. And I think it's really, you have such an impact on people.
Thank
You
you.
get all emotional now.
Yeah, no, I really, I hope so because I'm doing it really from the bottom of my heart. And I hope I'm helping people as much as they're helping me. Because let's go back to like the first, you know, post and the first reason why I created. I really selfishly did it for myself at first. Like I just wanted that place to vent about my mom, to be able to follow grief account who had nothing to do with my other Instagram, was all about my art business. So I just needed that place that was only about, you know, grief and mindfulness and quotes that would make me feel better. So I did it for, I really did it for myself first, but the fact that I was able to help people meant so much. The fact that I can take that grief, that I can take that loss that is so painful and turn it into something meaningful for me and for others, it's really, it's healing.
It is a safety net. It's just it's being it's allowing yourself to expand and grow with this horrible sad loss. You're taking her with you. You're taking that love with you, and
Yeah.
that's exactly why we're here doing what we're doing. Oh my gosh, people are loving all over you right now.
Thank you.
Oh
Thank
my
you
gosh.
so much.
Okay, so can we talk about Neshama Journey and how and the meaning behind it? Because I love the name and the meaning behind the name. So will you share about that?
I'm going to share about that because there's a beginning to that story. And I came back to New York. So after my mother passed, it was December. And I think for the whole month of like December, January, I wasn't able really to leave the house. I needed to be home, and I didn't want to do anything. And in January, I thought, you know what, if I have to leave the house, I'm going to go do something that would be, feeding myself spiritually. Because just to, okay, for some people that might not know that, when you are mourning in the Jewish faith, the first year, you are not able to go to, parties, social gathering. You shouldn't be, dressing up, or, just partake into social events. I didn't shop for a year. So it really strips you from the material, the superficial, the social.
Right.
Of course, you can go back to work if you're able. I wasn't able to go back to work in December, January. I was out of it totally. But it does strip you from anything that is not spiritual. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to go out of the house, I'm just going to go to my community center. I'm going to talk to the rabbi, and I'm going to go to a class, and I'll do this for my mom, and maybe it will be helpful. So neshama in Hebrew means soul. So I went to the rabbi, and I asked him, like, what happened to the soul after? Like, I really want to know what happened. Where are they? Can they hear us? And I don't want the whole biblical, explanation. I just want the spiritual explanation. The rabbi told me there's a course, but, I'm not able to give it to you because I don't have the training, but, one day we'll be able to give it. And this week we're starting that course. The course is called The Journey of the Soul, which in Hebrew means Neshama journey. Yeah. And I was able to buy the course and all the material. The rabbi got a training, and we're starting this course this week. And it's a bereavement support group for our community center. And I don't know if it's going to answer any of our question about where, where does the soul go? But, I think it will bring some peace. So it's been exactly a year that we've been, trying to put together this class, and it's a 6-week courses, 6 module, and it's starting this week. So I couldn't get the answer from that rabbi, and I started studying Kabbalah, which is also like a Jewish, one of the Jewish wisdom. And I still didn't find any answer, by the way, but we talk a lot about the soul. But I have to say that one thing happened in my first class. The rabbi was talking about, pausing. Like, if you have any problem, if you have situation, like, instead of being reactive, just try to like pause and think, not with your ego, but with your soul. So I was like, okay, I like that he talks about the soul, but I'm still going to ask him a question at the end, of the class. So I went to him and I'm like, Rabbi, I'm grieving. I lost my mom. There's nothing I can pause. Like, I cannot pause her death. Like, it's forever. And he's like, no, it's not about pausing her death. It's about pausing what you're doing right now to grieve. And I just took that advice to the letter. And then I took it even more to the letter because COVID happened. So I paused entirely. I didn't go back to work. I was just home, and I was sitting with my grief, and I let the pain, I don't know, go all over me, and reflect on everything that had happened those past 2 years. And it was the best advice, I ever got. So I'm still looking for my answers about what happened to the soul after we leave this world and after the soul leaves the body. And I don't know if we'll ever get that answer. It's really whatever you believe. But I got that other fantastic advice, which was pausing and grieving. And I had the privilege to be able to do it. Really, for me, like, that lockdown at the beginning of COVID was the silver lining of that pandemic. But the fact that I was able to, sit with myself, reflect, and just honor that grief. And
have we talked about PI, what we do at Talk About Loss? We have, our version of this is pause, identify, and embrace. And so it's really about, very similar to what the rabbi was talking about. We pause because to acknowledge where we are. and to give that some honor and to
Yeah.
honor our space and really be honest about what's going on. Some things, some feelings are coming up, whether it's grief or fear or frustration, whatever it is. But to identify it and give it a name, for me, it just made sense. I started doing this after Jack died, my son, because I needed to put a name to it. You know, I needed to make it less scary, and then to really embrace it and tell myself, it's okay that I'm feeling this. It's not always going to be there, but for right now, love myself with this part of me.
Yeah.
It gave me so much peace. And it's been interesting to see that it does work for others. Everybody has their own version of it,
Yeah.
or, you know, finds what works for them. But to pause is so powerful.
So powerful. And his advice, like, it's like pause, but in every situation, pause and think what your soul would do and not what your ego would do. Because your ego, if you're grieving, would say, don't be sad, don't show any sadness, just
Right.
show the world you're strong, go back to work tomorrow, you know, just like get over it, move on, turn the page. And that's not what your soul wants, right? And your soul wants to embrace the pain, want to understand what's going on. And that's what happened. So that's why the name came from Neshama
Love
Journey.
it.
It was really about, you know, the soul journey, all those questions unanswered that I have about, you know, my mom's soul journey, my soul journey. Will they ever meet again? Are they still in touch? Are they still in contact? So it's really about the soul at the end of the day, and how, you know, infinite and limitless. It's timeless.
It is.
And that this is another explanation they give, you know, like how the body is so limited in time. Like your body has an expiration date, and after that, you know, it goes back to earth and everything. But the soul is forever. So you're always on a journey. And
Well, I hope you take us along with your journey through this
you
course,
know,
because I mean, it's, yeah, please do. Whatever you are willing to share, oh my gosh, we want to hear about it. And I'll tell you,
well,
when Logan was about a year and a half, we had never talked about his grandma or his grandpa who had died. It felt like he was too young, and how do you, you know, approach this type of conversation? But it was on Mother's Day, and he said to me, he was maybe closer to 2. He said, "Mama, where's your mama?"
wow.
And I said, I was like struck by that. Like, what do I do with this? And so I said, she is not here. She does not have a body. But some people, you know, we're going to talk about this over the years, and some people say that she's a soul now, or other people think she's in heaven. And he just looked at me, and he climbed up on my chair and gave me this big kiss on my cheek.
That's so cute.
And he says, "Mama, this is from your mama."
Oh, yeah, I think they have a connection. Like kids have a connection too.
I mean, where that
To
came
the soul.
from,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can't dispute that a, you know, under 2-year-old child is going to say,
Yeah.
"This is from your mama."
Yeah.
It's
They're
beautiful.
very sensitive. Very much.
They are. They are. So tell us what you said that this is Nashima Journey for Instagram and beyond.
Yeah. So that's how, you know, how it started, because I was looking for this course about the soul journey, and the course is starting this week. We'll see what we'll learn. But I think I was just on a spiritual quest. Like for me, my mother dying couldn't be just like the end of the story. Like I needed to have more. Like there's more. It cannot stop just like this. Like I'm sure there's connection. And then, you know, I started seeing signs, and it's just a matter of belief at the end.
Right.
I just believe that she's still here, and I believe that there's still a soul connection. And I don't know. We'll see when we'll meet again. But for
Right.
now, I'm still accepting and receiving the signs, because I want to believe that she's the one sending them, and that she's around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I want to do a bit of a rapid fire questions with you. But
Yeah.
is there anything that you would like us to know about your mom?
Yeah. So my mom was because I say I'm a talker, but my mom used to talk like 1,000 times more than me. And she was a very, very, very good listener.
Mhm.
And it's funny because my mom, I mean, I lived in New York, so we have doormen. And of course, I say hello, I say hi. But when my mom would visit, she would know everything about their family situation. And she would arrive and it's like, hey, Louis, how's your wife? How's your kids? How old is he now? Like, she remembered everything. She was not only she loved to talk, like, even herself, she would say that if she was abandoned on an island, like, she would make all the animals and plants talk because she but also I think she also had this energy. That's why I appreciate when people tell me that I have that energy because my mom had this energy that people would confide in her and talk to her and feel very at ease, you know? So she knew the life
That's
of like
you.
everyone around because she would ask and she would genuinely ask. It's not just asking without listening. It's really asking because she was interested and she would not forget. Like even if she had visited once and then once again a year later, she would still remember the name of that person, the name of the
Oh,
kids, like how old they were. And she was genuinely interested by others people's, you know, life or situation. And many times she had those situations where she's like in a restaurant or in a cafe and the person next to her sitting starts, you know, engaging the conversation. And all of a sudden they're like, you know, confiding in her about like their life and something that happened. And I'm like, how do you do that? And I think, I don't know, it's maybe the energy, but people know that I'm very open and they come to me and she would attract people.
right.
Maybe that's what's happening to me. And that's why the self-mothering is really her
Hmm.
making me talk and listen and help others. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's partially how she lives in you
Mm-hmm.
because that is you. You were describing you.
Yeah.
People love talking to you. It is so easy.
And people love talking to my mom. So the nurses at the hospital, they would spend so many hours in her room just because they love to chat. They thought it was fun. Like her trainer used to be like my mom used to be almost like her therapist because she's like, at the end, I'm not going to charge you for the training. Like I should pay you for therapy because she would listen and listen and listen and spend like her whole, you know, gym class listening to her trainer. Same with the physiotherapist and the nurses, and people would just come to her and talk. And and I think the fact that she just embraced that and was
Yeah.
open to the people made her maybe have that energy that people think I have, and it's great if I do,
You
but
do? Oh,
definitely
please. You do.
I think that that for sure comes from her.
What a gift.
Hmm.
What a gift. And your boys are so lucky that you're their mama.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Even though you're strict,
I am
it's good for
strict.
them.
But you know what? They love it. I think they're realizing that it's not that bad.
Oh,
Like there are a lot of rules at home, but you know, there's a certain calm that is good for everyone.
they know what the guidelines are. They
Yes,
know where the
exactly.
boundaries are. Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next six
Thank
weeks.
you.
I'm going to be tuning and watching and listening and reading. Okay, so I've got a few uh, rapid fires that I just want to, I'm just going to throw out a couple words.
Yes,
Just tell me
please.
what comes to mind. The first one has to be soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Soul is my mom. Is you know, we're connected. It's connection.
It is connection.
It is connection.
Um,
That's I'm trying to get answer, but at the end of the day, all I want to know is that we're still connected. That's it.
and by what comes out of you, the light that comes out
Mhm.
of you, I can't imagine you not being connected. I mean, it's so life affirming and so beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next one is motherhood.
Yeah, I'll have to say boys. I think my motherhood is defined by boys, which is a total different motherhood, motherhood that my mom had with me. I mean, how easy it must have been to have me as a just only child at home, it was pretty easy. And now I have like those three boys at home. But no, motherhood definitely, uh, she helped me so much with it at the beginning. I don't know how I would have done it without her the first years. Like I had three babies at home, and my mom helped me every single day. So
A lot of babies.
yeah, that's a lot of babies.
Okay, the last one, meditation.
Yeah. So I started practicing meditation when she was sick. And I have to say that when she was sick, I used to meditate, but not every day. But I started getting anxiety. And I don't know, I just started losing my sleep. And after a week, I went to the doctor and I'm like, I cannot sleep. What happened? My mother has cancer. Her husband has terminal cancer. He might die anytime soon. And I just cannot sleep. I don't know. I was so worried about the future. First, my mom becoming a widow, then my mom, possibly, dying from that cancer if it was not treatable. And he prescribed me Xanax. And I'm totally fine with people taking medication, but I don't want to take medication because I don't know. That's like another story.
Another time.
Another time.
We'll do this another time.
I'm very scared of like medication addiction. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it for a few days, but I don't want to start taking Xanax every night. And at that moment, I started seeing mindfulness coach, and I started meditating. And really the exercise was that every time I was thinking too much about the future, which is so unpredictable, I had to go back to the present. And this is what I'm trying to do every day, because when your mind goes to the future can be so scary. And especially at that time, my mother was going to be a widow. She was sick. What was going to happen? And even today, when I think about how it's going to be in 10 years without my mom, how it's going to be with my kids, I'm like, come back. First of all, we don't even know if we're going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
So let's come back to today. And this is where meditation helped me, because we can really let our fears take control of ourselves. And it's totally normal to have those fears. But I think what death and the sicknesses taught us is that it's so unpredictable. So we try to make plan. I mean, I haven't done any plan in the past 2-3 years, because every time I was making a plan for a trip, I had to cancel and travel to Brazil to be with my mom. Like every time something was happening and I had to cancel. So I'm like, I'm just not going to plan anything anymore. I'm done. I'm done planning. And that's the thing. It's unpredictable. So of course you can have fear, but just try to find something to not let the fear control you. And that fear of the future, it's not rational, because you might not be here tomorrow. So why worry so much about, next year or next 2 years? Something might happen to me, something might happen to my kids. And I don't know, touch wood, but I always try to go back to the present moment. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. And it's definitely a daily exercise. And it's really a mindful practice. But I wanted to delve into it and dedicate myself to it, because I didn't want to get this medication addiction, if I could say that I've witnessed in, that's another story. But
oh, absolutely. And there's, talking about addiction and meditation on the other side of it, what we're learning just from like a data standpoint is that meditation is actually dose dependent. So the more, like, I have to meditate. Sometimes it's twice a day, because I need that to take me back to where I'm not
the present moment.
Yeah. So it's like each dose adds up. And so to think about it in those terms made a lot of sense to me. I was like, oh, okay. Oh my gosh, this was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It was a joy. I
like being interviewed, actually. It's fun to be in that side of the camera.
Oh, good. Well, we're hearing it. Wonderful woman, and you carry her legacy, Thank you both. It was a great conversation. It was. And thank you all for tuning in. And we will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Take
Thank you.
care. Have a nice Sunday.
You too.
Bye.